Over the last 4 months, I've spent around $10,000 on SMMA courses. Was it worth it? Honestly, yeah. And in this video, I want to talk about why you should or shouldn't buy a course. And by the way, this isn't like a course review video. This is just going to be my take on whether courses are good in general and whether they are right for you. Now, if you can't afford to pay for a course, don't worry, because at the end of this video, I'm going to have a whole section where I go through an entire list of the most important things that I've learned from courses. And if you do research on these things yourself, you should be able to find success as if you just bought your own course. And by the way, I did a mix of courses and coaching, so I will talk a little bit about both of them. So why are courses good? Honestly, like the biggest benefit I found from courses is just having a bunch of scripts and templates to kind of go off of, right? Like sales scripts, cold call scripts, outreach scripts, contracts, onboarding funnels, all these things. While you can technically find all of these online, it just makes it a lot easier when they're all in one place. All you have to do is like download a file and not copy it, but basically use it as a structure for you to do your own or create your own templates. It saved me a lot of time. It saved me a lot of headache. And honestly, I'm really glad I didn't have to go through like 50 YouTube videos just to find like the perfect script for myself. Now, one thing I do want to warn against is that even if you have these scripts, you cannot copy them word for word. It just doesn't work. All these course creators also warn against the same thing. Like, because if you copy the same script as everyone else, you're going to get the same result as everyone else, which is shit. Like for me, every time I get a script from a course or from a program, I always make sure to alter it for myself because again, I've tested it, I've copied the script word for word, they get 0 results. And every time I modify it to make it fit my niche, my service, and even my personality, which I did talk about in my previous video about outreach, really makes a huge difference in my results. Now, the second great thing, and I would say this applies more to coaching really than courses or anything that has like some type of support system in place, is that you can get your own specific questions answered. Like most of the time, you don't need like this whole textbook of information to really succeed in SMMA. Really, it's just like getting to that next step usually just requires getting 2 to 3, maybe 5 questions answered. And once you get those things answered, you can basically keep moving forward and get your first results. And honestly, like having a coach, having like support and having your questions answered has made things a lot easier for me to progress. And honestly, I probably would still be stuck at my first client right now if I didn't have this kind of help. And finally, kind of similar to the first thing, is that everything is kind of structured. Everything is organized. Like it'll tell you how to do outreach, how to do sales, how to kind of structure your service delivery and kind of create a good client experience. Most courses will have these kind of 4 main components, and just having everything laid out for you kind of in order makes things a lot easier to just execute on, put your head down, and basically don't really think about having to watch 30 to 50 videos just to find like the right knowledge that you need. And so that's again saved me a lot of time. It's saved me a lot of headache. I used my money to buy my time and to buy my energy. Now, of course, I don't recommend that everyone goes out to buy a course just because it's helpful. There are certain considerations that you need to take before you make this decision for yourself, because honestly, it's a lot of money. Like even for me, I have a job, but it's still expensive. So the first big consideration to make is, are you in a rush? Like, do you need to get to 10K a month in the next 3 to 6 months? If so, then yeah, you probably want to save money for a course or for a coaching program. But if not, then you don't really need to spend a lot of money. And what I actually recommend is to, instead of going hard on outreach and sales right away, is to actually learn your service delivery better so that you actually know what you're doing and you can get better results for your clients. Like if you just want to build a 6-figure business in the next, 2 to 3 years, then it's probably going to pay off to like learn how to get good results for your clients. And then, start going to people and say, hey, like I can actually get you these results because I've spent time learning about it. And the way you can learn about this is, either work for a business that is offering the service or even just run your own business, right? Like if you want to do e-commerce, for example, try building your own e-commerce store and run your own ads and try to sell your own product. Having this experience honestly makes all the difference. I've never done my own service before working with my first clients, but I did know kind of general marketing. I did know Facebook ads at a very high level from my dropshipping. Now, to be clear, I don't service e-commerce businesses. I don't run Facebook ads for them or for anyone. But again, just having that general knowledge about marketing has really helped me. And I do recommend you actually know what you're doing before you go sell the service. Another thing to consider is, who do you trust? Like who do you buy the course from? Because I know that's a big problem in just any business space right now, is which guru's course do I buy? Honestly, this one is a little bit hard, but I would say the best way to approach it is just find courses that have great reviews and a bunch of testimonials, right? Social proof is very real. It's very effective. And if you see that, one course has gotten hundreds of people great results, then yeah, it's probably pretty safe to go with that course. So really just see if you trust the influencer in general. The best ones I find are usually like the no BS ones, the ones that just tell you what works, what doesn't, and they can tell you from their own experience, right? Not just, I learned this from this other YouTuber, so you should do this too. Like it's kind of hard to tell when you're just a beginner. I've been watching a bunch of business YouTube videos since I was born, so it's a little easier for me to tell kind of who's legit and who's not. But yeah, really try to trust your intuition here and really look for proof that the course actually works. Now, one really big thing to consider as well is most courses will be good enough for you to get your first client. Like it really is just outreach, sales, and half decent offer and service delivery. The biggest problem is that isn't that the course sucks. I mean, some courses really do suck, but the biggest problem usually is that people just don't apply what they learn, right? They watch a bunch of YouTube videos, they watch a bunch of courses, and they just don't apply what they learn. They keep doing the same stupid shit, and that's why they don't get results. Or they're just fucking lazy. And that kind of leads me to my next point, which is, are you actually gonna do the work? Because guys, here's the thing, like courses and coaching, they don't guarantee success, right? Some of them do, like the really good ones will actually guarantee you get a client, but a lot of the time, especially like just standalone courses, they're not gonna guarantee that you get a bunch of clients. Like building an agency is still hard work. Like you're gonna have to put in the reps, you're gonna have to get rejected a lot, you're gonna have to eat a bunch of shit before you really start seeing progress. So if you're not willing to put in the work, like don't waste your time, don't waste your money, go work at McDonald's and buy crypto. All right, so we've discussed the benefits of buying a course, whether you should or shouldn't buy a course. What happens if you cannot afford a course? So it will take a little bit of treasure hunting through YouTube, through Google, through Reddit, I don't know. But to make your life easier, I've put together a checklist or framework of basically a list of things that if you were to go and figure out the answers to each of these items, you probably won't need a course and you should be able to close at least a few clients. So the first thing is you need a niche and you need a service. Honestly, like it doesn't really matter what niche or service you pick. Most of them work. One of the things I will say is that, don't pick something that nobody's done before, right? Like if nobody's doing it, it's not because no one's ever tried it. It's because it probably doesn't work and the market for it is probably too small and you're probably not going to find success for it either. Now, if there is one service and niche I recommend you stay away from, it's doing Facebook ads for e-commerce clients. I would say this is probably the only niche or industry or offer that is actually saturated. And it's not so much that agencies for e-commerce businesses are saturated. It's beginners who have no idea what the fuck they're doing, trying to offer Facebook ads with some cheap contractor to e-commerce businesses who've never done it before. That is saturated because that's basically what everyone's trying to teach these days. Now, the second thing is kind of similar to the first one is you need to have an offer for that niche. And again, like the only thing you need to consider when it comes to your offer is make sure that it's something that your niche actually needs, right? And something that they can actually benefit from. Like don't try to sell like subscribers to a fucking dentist who doesn't need people on Instagram. Like the results that you generate should actually benefit the business you're trying to service. And kind of one more thing you want to have in your offer is some type of risk reversal, right? So this is basically a guarantee, some type of pay and performance or pay per lead, for example. Now, I wouldn't say it's like 100% mandatory to have some type of risk reversal or guarantee, but it really does help with the sales and outreach process. And I don't think I would be where I'm at without that. So something to consider. And again, if you're a beginner, like there's no reason you should be not offering guarantees because who the hell are you to basically ask people for their money with all the risk on them? So just something to keep in mind. So before you even start your outreach, you actually need to find people to send your outreach messages to, which is basically lead generation. So this is kind of split into two parts. One is sourcing leads, the other is qualifying leads. So for sourcing leads, you can basically buy leads from sites like Phantom Buster or Built With. You can check Facebook groups, look at YouTube channels and TikTok and IG accounts. When it comes to qualifying leads, the criteria really depends on your niche and your service. I would say just keep a good balance between good filtering versus the work required to actually find the information to qualify your leads, right? Like for example, it's really easy to see if your prospect has a Facebook pixel installed, but it's almost impossible to see what their revenue level is, right? So just make sure you pick criteria that are actually easy to find and can be done by a VA like without too much effort. Now let's talk about outreach, which I'm sure many of you are interested in. So the first thing I would say is only focus on having one outreach method. It doesn't really matter what, like you can do cold email, cold DMs, cold calling, they all work, right? But pick one to stick with because each outreach method kind of has its own nuances, has its own details in terms of like actually being able to succeed with it and scale it. And if you try to focus on everything at once, it's kind of like trying to service multiple niches or offer multiple services at the same time, right? It's going to be really hard to get good at any of them and you're not really going to see great results. And kind of on a similar point is, and I feel like no one really talks about this on YouTube, but it's really, really important, which is to know how to preserve your cold outreach deliverability. Like for example, if you spam like, thousands of cold emails or cold DMs every single day, you will very likely get blacklisted. You'll very likely get banned on whatever platform you're using. And this is going to completely screw up your client acquisition. So learn how to basically prevent it from happening, watch some YouTube videos and make sure that you preserve and basically keep your outreach method healthy. Because again, you can spend like hours on outreach every day, but if it's not reaching your clients or your prospects, then you're wasting your time and your money, right? Or your energy. So the next piece when it comes to outreach is knowing what components of a good outreach message are. So I made a video on this, like I think 2 videos ago, which literally breaks down like what I think makes a good outreach message. Another really good source for learning how to do cold outreach is Charlie Morgan. He's another SMMA YouTuber. He's much better than I am. He knows what he's doing. His bread and butter is cold client acquisition. So go check out his channel, tell him I sent you. And finally, the last important piece when it comes to outreach is learning how to improve your outreach, right? And this is basically measuring and tracking and constantly testing new copy, new hooks, new components. I would say you don't even really need to like learn this. This is literally just tracking all your emails, all your messages, in a spreadsheet, tracking all your metrics like your open rate, your response rate, your call rate, all those things. And when you are able to see your numbers and when you constantly test to make sure those numbers go up, then honestly, it's inevitable that your outreach will improve. Like it's literally just a numbers game. So next is sales. Honestly, sales is pretty straightforward when it comes to learning. There's really just two key components. First is having a decent to good sales script. And what I've learned from taking a bunch of courses and programs at this point is that all the sales scripts are pretty much the exact same. Like they might have a little bit of variation, wording might be a bit different, but the structure and kind of like the things you talk about or say are pretty much the exact same. They use the same psychological kind of tactics. They kind of lead the prospect to the same point. So yeah, honestly, as long as you can find like a decent script from some guru that you like and trust, just use that. Honestly, like unless the situation clearly shows that you shouldn't be following the scripts, like let's say the prospects already told you like all their pain points, what they're struggling with, how it's affecting their life. Don't be like, oh, like how is this problem affecting your life every day? Like they fucking told you, right? Don't be fucking stupid. So the second thing when it comes to sales is just to learn how to handle the most common objections. Honestly, like it's pretty straightforward. Like there's literally like hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos basically teaching you how to handle every sales objection in existence. One really good source is Alex Ramosi. He's just an incredible resource on sales, but I'm sure there's many other resources out there and I'm sure you guys can figure it out on your own. And finally, probably the most important part, or probably the part that most people are confused about, is service delivery. Honestly, the reason that it's kind of hard to find one consistent resource for service delivery in the area of SMMA is because it really depends on your niche and your service. Like you could literally offer anything to everyone. It's kind of hard to say like, oh, like this guy didn't teach me this service. Yeah, because he's probably only doing one service, right? And you're doing a different one. But my kind of general advice here is don't just look for advice from SMMA YouTubers, right? Like look for people like experts in the actual service that you're offering, right? Like if you're doing, I don't know, like funnel optimization or CRO, like don't look for an agency to tell you how to do that. Look for someone who's actually like a CRO or a funnel building channel. Like go look at ClickFunnels, for example. Like there's a lot of knowledge and expertise out there for service delivery, right? It's really just a matter of typing it into Google or YouTube and just doing the research yourself. Now, for the second most important question, which everyone loves to ask, is hiring a contractor versus doing it yourself. I literally made a video on this. It's like my last video. I talk about this exact thing, this one thing only. So go watch it. There's no exact one answer because it depends on your situation. And really the next and kind of the most important thing is you just have to understand how to actually get results for your clients or for your niche. Like at the end of the day, that's really what your business is going to be based on. It's going to be the backbone of everything you do. And so just spend time like learning how do e-commerce businesses get more revenue? How do dentists get more clients or phone calls, right? There's going to be so many resources on this, guys. Like I honestly don't understand why people struggle with service delivery. I think it's because they either don't know what it takes to get results or they're just too lazy to look up like Facebook ads for dentists. Just use some logic, guys. Like I hate to be like a fucking prick about this, but it really is that simple. That's how I've learned everything. I don't ask other YouTubers in their comments like, oh, teach me this. Like, dude, you can literally Google pretty much any question you have. So go do it. And finally, there's a bunch of things that I would say are more administrative, but are very, very important for actually running an agency. So first one is communication. I just use Slack, but just find something that you can use to send regular messages to your clients, send files, and where you can keep all your clients in one place. Again, Slack works pretty well. Some people use WhatsApp, but really anything works. Another thing is to have a method for reporting results. Honestly, this is pretty straightforward, but it is a necessity. You can really get by with just a spreadsheet and just track very simple metrics, right? Like how much are you spending in ads? What's the revenue you're bringing back? How many followers or subscribers are you bringing in each week or each month? Keep it simple. The most you need to do it is like maybe every week or every month. And next, you want to have a method of invoicing and collecting payments. I use PayFunnels. It's very simple. Works like a dream. There's dozens of other invoicing and payments options out there. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by any of the tools I mentioned in this video. I'm just basically telling you what I use. And finally, have a contracts template or find a contract template and use some type of software that you can use to basically manage the signing of these, right? Like I use HelloSign, you can use DocuSign, you can use PandaDocs, like again, bunch of options. They're all pretty much the same thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like go figure out how to answer each of these questions and you've basically built your own $9.97 course. And yeah, you're going to be fine. Hope you got some value out of this. Courses do work, but again, they're expensive. And if you can't afford it, basically follow everything I just talked about in the last, I don't know how many minutes, and you should be gold. See you guys in the next video.